Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Keep those questions and suggestions coming. I get to them as soon as I can. Now, one of the suggestions that I got was for making a David Gilmour preset. Well, okay, but what album do we start with? Dark Side of the Moon? Sure, why not? But first, a little history lesson. Just in case you don't know who David Gilmour is, he was the guitarist who replaced Syd Barrett in Pink Floyd. Syd Barrett was their guitarist, vocalist, and chief songwriter. Unfortunately, he had mental health issues that were made worse by taking acid and other drugs. Syd's brain basically got fried and he couldn't be counted on to make it through a gig. In 1967, Pink Floyd brought David Gilmour in to help out. And then one day on the way to a gig, they just decided to not pick up Syd. And just like that, Syd was out and Gilmour was in. Between 1968 and 1972, they released a lot of albums. But their big breakthrough came in 1973 with the release of Dark Side of the Moon. Suddenly they went from making movie soundtracks and playing concert halls to selling out huge stadiums. I got lucky and saw them at County Stadium in Milwaukee for the In the Flesh tour in 1977. There was a crowd of 60,000. By sheer luck, I got down to the outfield and worked my way up to the very front. So I was maybe 20 to 30 feet from the band. It was one of the most memorable concerts of my life, and guys, I have been to a lot of concerts. When Pink Floyd was recording the Dark Side of the Moon album, David Gilmour was using a Dallas Arbiter fuzz face, a Color Sound Power Boost, Univox Univibe, a Benson EchoRec 2, Kepix processor for trem effect, and an EMS Synthi Hi-Fly guitar effect processor. That signal was then run into a high-watt DR103 100-watt head plugged into a WEM 4x12 Starfinder cabinet. He also used a Leslie rotary speaker cabinet. Alan Parsons was the recording engineer, and he mic'd Gilmour's amp with a Neumann U87 condenser. All right, back to this preset. I'm going to open up the Pro Control app and show you what I've put together. We don't have any amps that were inspired by Hiwatt in the ToneMaster Pro, so I had to find something similar. Hiwatts are loud, punchy, and clean, rich with even-ordered harmonics. So I decided to use the Super Reverb Head amp only with the 4x12 Blackback speaker cab. We don't have a U87 condenser mic, but we do have the C414, so that's what I'm using. For effects, I'm using the noise gate to tame any single coil hum, plus the chromatic pitch shifter, the simple compressor, the Nashville overdrive, the silicon version of the round fuzz, the tremolo, the Universe Vibe, the rotary speaker 147, the Ranger Boost, the auto swell delay, the stereo tape echo, and the large plate reverb. We don't have anything like the EMS Synthi Hi-Fly guitar effect processor, but apparently there are no records on if or even how the Hi-Fly processor was used during the Dark Side of the Moon recording sessions. From what I've heard, it was used for their live shows. And of course, a Stratocaster is the obvious guitar of choice here, but hey, play what you got. Alrighty then, let's look at how I have it laid out. Now here are my foot switch assignments: Breathe Rhythm, Breathe Pedal Steel, Time Intro, Brain Damage, Money Stun, Money Solo. Those are my 6 scenes. And then this last switch over here is for turning the Leslie speed from slow to fast and back to slow again. So let's take a look at the Breathe Rhythm scene. We're using the noise gate, the compressor, the Universe Vibe, the amp and cab, and the tape echo, and the large plate reverb. The standout pedal in this scene is the Universe Vibe, which was inspired by the Univox Univibe pedal. It gives you that nice swirly sound that's almost like a Leslie rotary speaker. Jimi Hendrix also used a Univibe on a lot of his tracks. All right, now let's take a look at Breathe Pedal Steel. That scene is using the noise gate, the chromatic pitch shifter, the compressor, amp and cab, the Ranger Boost, the auto swell delay, the tape echo, and the large plate reverb. This scene lets you pretend that you have a pedal steel guitar. Well, kind of. The expression pedal is changing the pitch on the chromatic pitch shifter, allowing you to ramp it up a whole step. I also set the compressor to its highest setting and added the auto swell delay. Now I want to show you in the preset foot switch assignment, this is how I've set up the compressor to switch to the maximum value, and then when it switches off, it goes back to the medium value. It's parameter change. Block is simple comp. Parameter is type. Active value is max. Inactive value is medium. I also turned up the noise gate attenuation. Usually it's at 75%. For this scene, it's at 100%. Okay, now let's take a look at time intro. It uses the noise gate, the amp and cab, the tape echo, and the large plate reverb. This scene is used for the opening guitar sequence on time, after all those alarms have gone off. Okay, now let's take a look at the brain damage scene. Brain damage scene is using the noise gate, the compressor, the rotary speaker 147, the tape echo, and the large plate reverb. Yeah, now if you notice, it's not using the amp. Instead of the amp, it's using the rotary speaker 147. And like I said, I've also set up a foot switch that lets you change the speed of the rotary speaker. I don't usually push an amp into the rotary speaker. I'm a keyboard player from years ago, and Leslie's, like the Leslie 147 or 122, they have a built-in amp, so they do not need to be connected to a guitar amp. Okay, now let's take a look at what I call Money Stun. It uses the noise gate, the Nashville overdrive, the tremolo, the amp and cab, and the large plate reverb. There is no delay used in this scene. And the standout effect in this scene is the tremolo pedal, used for the stun guitar part in Money. The Nashville overdrive also gives it some grit. And all you do is play one B note with this. There's no chords, there's no riffs. It's just the B note on the 4th fret of the G string. That's it, guys. Now let's take a look at the Money solo scene. It uses the noise gate, the Nashville overdrive, the round fuzz, the amp and cab, the tape echo, and the large plate reverb. Now, of course, the standout effect in this scene is the silicon round fuzz. And as you can see, fuzz is turned up all the way. And I'm goosing it with the Nashville drive too. All right, guys, let's try the Breathe Rhythm scene. Now let's try the Breathe pedal steel scene. All right, let's try the time intro. All right, let's do the brain damage scene. All right, now let's try the Money Stun guitar. Now let's try the Money Solo. I uploaded this preset to the cloud, so let me know what you think. It's called Doug B's DSO-TM. Let me know if you have any suggestions for it or any other suggestions for other presets. I'd love to hear about it. Now this Friday, I'll have all new content. You do not want to miss that. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. All right, guys, have a great week. I will be talking with you again on Friday.